All right, superstars. Today we got a quick review refresher for your x and y intercepts. This is a great way to be able to graph your linear equations when they are in standard form. So if you remember, we've talked about making a data table and now talking about your x and y intercepts. So it says graph the standard form equation using x and y intercepts. So remember, they are two individual points. A lot of students, for whatever reason, they combine them into one point. We cannot do that. So when we notice it, we're going to go ahead and separate it into our two parts, the x-intercept and y-intercept. So the students who spend that time separating it will remember that they need to solve for both. The easiest way to do that is to remember that the x-intercept requires us to know that the y value is 0, and then we can solve the equation accordingly. And then for the y-intercept, we got to remember that the x value is 0, solve the equation, and then boom, you got your two ordered pairs, you plot your points, and you got your line. So let's see. If y is equal to 0, on the original equation given to us, 3 times 0 is just 0, so we know that that part of the equation disappears, which would then tell us that we have x is equal to -3, because 3 times 0 really doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and put that in a quick ordered pair, which remember the x goes first, y goes second, so we've got -3, 0 for our x-intercept. We do similar thinking for the y-intercept, but this time, remember, x is 0. So at the original equation, the x will be replaced, or we're going to substitute a 0 for the x. But this time, notice the 0 removal isn't going to help us solve for y just yet, because if we get rid of the 0, then it's still just 3y. And then we're going to do some quick division, divide both sides by 3, so y is going to be -1. If y is -1, we remember that x is 0 from the very beginning, so we make our y-intercept as 0, -1. We would then plot those 2 points. Again, always start with your x-intercept first, which is going to be on the x-axis, and then continue with your y-intercept second, which is going to be on your y-axis. Plot your 2 points, and then take your straight edge and connect them. And again, remember, you're trying to make your line pass through those 2 points as best as you can. So if your line looks a little bit above or below one of the dots, please erase it and clean it up, trying to make it as accurate as possible. And remember, do your edge-to-edge graphing. That's what we're looking for. All right, one more quick one, and then we'll look at your homework together. And again, the graph, just like we talked about, you plot, quick line. Again, the one on the right side, go a little bit more closer to the edge of the box. All right, same strategy. So let's go ahead and write down our equation, and then we're going to set up our spot there with 2x subtract y is equal to 6. When we make our little chart, we have our 2x subtract y equals 6. To solve for x-intercept again, we're going to use y is equal to 0. So remember, we're going to replace or substitute the 0 at the y location. So we got 2x subtract 0 equals 6. So the subtract 0 really doesn't help us, doesn't hurt us. We just get rid of it. So 2x equals 6. So we know after quick division that x will be equal to 3. The correct order, remember, x is going to be first, y is going to be second. All right, I'm going to give you a small head start to see if you can be careful and try to solve for your y-intercept. You got about 30 seconds to try and solve for your y-intercept. Did you remember to write x equals 0? Did you remember to substitute? Now, the reason I'm asking you to slow down on this one is because of that negative y. So many students, when they're going too quickly, they forget that a negative y but it says subtract y, but it's negative y. So when you cross that out, you have a negative y equals 6. So really, we got to divide both sides by negative 1. So that gives us y is equal to 6 divided by negative 1 is negative 6. So be super careful with your negative signs, please. Remember, your intercept is structured with the x value first, y value second, because it's simply an ordered pair. Notice the good labeling, the x-intercept, the y-intercept. On your homework, you're going to have some spots that's already pre-labeled as x-intercept, so you just got to write your quick ordered pair there. And then remember, when we plot it, we always start with the x-intercept on the x-axis first, which would be at 3, 0. Then we go to our y-intercept second. Connect it, make your beautiful line, edge-to-edge graphing. All right, now that we had our quick refresher, let's go ahead and spend a little bit of time on the actual assignment. So let's see here. All right, number 1. Actually, let's pause the video so that you can pass out the worksheet. All right, welcome back. There should have been enough time after the pausing to pass it out. So which equation does not belong and explain? Now, if you notice, A, C, and D, those are called standard form equations. The x and the y are on the same side. There's no fractions. X value is good, nice positive. That is a standard form equation. Letter B is different. It does not belong. That's actually called slope-intercept form, and we're going to be spending time on that soon. You did practice a little bit of solving for y. We're going to continue that. Number 2, describe 2 ways to graph that equation. Well, we talked about it just on the video a moment ago. You can make a data table, or even better yet on this one, I think it would be best to make your x-intercept y-intercept. All right, on number 3, I'm going to help you with one of them. Let's see, which one should we do? Let's do 3. Then you can do 4, 5. Notice how we're going to match up graph A, B, or C. The intercepts, x-intercept, we're going to say D, E, or F. And then the y-intercept, we're going to say G, H, or I. All right, so let's go ahead and structure it. If you remember, we essentially had a segment to separate the 2 ideas. So we're going to say x-intercept, and due to space, I'm just going to write it there, y is equal to 0. For the y-intercept, I'm going to use x equals 0. So solving for x first, let's see. To solve for x, the y is now 0. The video showed that we all know anything multiplied by 0 is just 0, so we can cross that off. So let's say x is equal to negative 4. And we're going to say that our ordered pair, remember, is negative 4, 0. So looking at the x-intercept option, that is letter E. Then for our y-intercept, very similar work, but we're going to be extra careful with our negative signs. Let's see. X is now going to be 0. Subtract 2y is equal to negative 4. So the 0 part crosses off. Again, it's not an X there. Hopefully you notice that. Let me change the color. Maybe that'll help you guys out. Meaning it's no longer part of the problem. So we have negative 2y is equal to negative 4. Divide both sides by negative 2. So it means y is equal to a negative divided by a negative is a positive, positive 2. So our ordered pair, remember, always starts with the x first, then the y second. So for our y-intercept of 0, 2, that is letter H. All right, so the question is, looking at the graphs now that are already pre-made, which graph has an x-intercept of negative 4, 0 and a y-intercept of 0, 2? Now, if you notice, graph A does not have an x-intercept of negative 4, 0, because that would be way over here. So we're going to skip graph A. Graph B does have an x-intercept of -4, but so does graph C. So the small difference there again is the y-intercept. According to our information, it says the y-intercept is 0, 2. This one is 0, not 2. This one is 0, 2. So that is graph C. So again, doing a little bit of work and then matching up your information, but it's all set up in the structure here, separating x-intercept and y-intercept. All right, let me see if I can help you just a little bit more. Let's see. Ooh. I like letters, or number 6. Number 6 has a few more negatives, just like number 9. So we're going to do number 6 completely, and then we'll graph it completely. Everything will be good. So let's go ahead and separate it into the 2 parts. Let's see, I'm going to use an actual segment. Just a little bit better for me. And we're going to go ahead and write x-intercept y equals 0. Y-intercept x equals 0. So again, set them up, solve each one individually, and remember, please do not combine them. Do not combine them. So let's see here. X-intercept solving for that. Y is 0, so let's go ahead and do quick substitution. This part is gone. So 2x is equal to -12. Quick division. Solve for your x, and then when you're ready, make your ordered pair. So I'm gonna solve both of them, then I'm gonna graph. So if you divide, you got -6. Correct order is -6, 0. Remember, this is a separate ordered pair. Do not try and combine them at all, which is why we put that line segment there to separate our 2 thoughts. All right, solving for the y-intercept. Be careful of your negative sign, please. 2 times 0, subtract 3y is equal to -12. Cross this out. -3y is equal to -12. Notice how I put the negative sign there, but it's subtraction. Yeah, we're just use the sign. Use the sign. Divide both sides by -3. So y is equal to, and then when you're ready, go ahead and identify the exact ordered pair for the x-intercept. Negative divided by negative. Remember the whole triangle idea from the very beginning of the year. If you cover up both negative signs, it's definitely a positive, +4. Now be careful how you structure it, because again, some students mistakenly put the 4 first. But remember, the x always goes first. 0, 4. All right, now that I have both of them solved, I'm going to go ahead and plot. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and place your pencil at the origin of your coordinate plane, and then we're going to do our counting, directional counting for the x-intercept first. So if you notice, it says -6, 0, which means left 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause there. 0 is the y, so there's no up or down, so we put a nice dot here. Again, we did the directional counting a lot in chapter 2, and we keep doing it. All right, the y-intercept is 0, 4. Starting at the origin, the x is 0, which means no left or right. +4 means up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now remember, the x-intercept has to be on the x-axis. The y-intercept has to be on the y-axis. I have some students every year who tend to put the number on the wrong axis, so please be very, very careful. All right, grab your straight edge, and let's go ahead and connect. Let's put some arrows on the end for your beautiful equation and your beautiful graph. Again, we were finding the x-intercept and the y-intercept to make that work. All right, you got a few more repeating like that. Got a quick error there. Hopefully you can figure there a mistake. Let's see. Write an equation. This is just kind of a mental math problem. A lot of students do excellent with money problems. But I did want to look at our hamburger and chili fries before we go. All right. It says a class spent $90 on hamburgers and chili fries. So not 90 on hamburgers, 90 on fries. That's the total. A hamburger is $1.50 and chili fries are $2. Let x equals the number of hamburgers and y equals the number of chili fries. So we're going to go ahead and set up our equation as $1.50 times x, because that's the hamburger, plus 2y, because y is the chili fries, and that's going to be equal to 90. It says find the x and y intercept, then graph it. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Not a ton of room, but I think we can fit it there. X-intercept, y equals 0, y-intercept, x equals 0. So if you notice, before I start solving again, I set both up. Every year we have some students who only find the x-intercept, but don't find the y-intercept. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and substitute. So I've got 1.50x plus 2 times 0 equals 90. The 2 times 0 is gone. So I really have 1.5. Are you okay if we don't put the 0 there? Equals 90. Divide by both sides by 1.5. Ran out of room. Okay, come over here. X is equal to. Now remember, if we need to, we can go off to the side and do our elementary division. Move the decimal once, move the decimal once, bring it up. So it's really like we have 900 now. So 15 and 90. So let's see, my first guess is a 6. Let's see if I'm right. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 3. Oh, very nice. So 0, 6 is 90, really 900. So 60. X is 60. So our x-intercept, a little out of room, maybe you can bring it up here, is 60, 0. All right, similar work, but this one's a little bit quicker, easier. 1.50 times 0 plus 2y is equal to 90. So again, the 1.50 times 0 is gone. 2y equals 90, so we do quick division. So y is 45, which means it is 0.45. All right, I have found the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Let's go ahead and graph it. Now, if you notice on my x and y axis, they are not labeled. So to save us a little bit of writing, let's say maybe counting by 5s. So remember, this is 0 in the corner. So 5, 10. 15 is the next box. 20. 25, 30. And we continue. 35, 40. 45, 50, 55, 60. I think that's good. Same thing on the chili fries. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. I think that's good. Because again, my x-intercept was 60, 0. Remember, that's on the x-axis, so I'm going to put a dot here at 60, 0. My y-intercept is 0.45, so 0, 45. Let's go ahead and connect them. Notice on this one, since it's only a quadrant 1 graph, I'm not going to extend it. It cannot continue into the negative areas and things like that. All right, we have finished the graph. It says if they bought 30 chili fries, how many hamburgers did they buy? Now, one way is to look at the graph. So looking at the graph, it says 30 chili fries. So if I look on the y-axis, that's the chili fries. And if I count over, let me put little dots there. From 30, if I count over, I could eventually stop there. But this method is only reliable, and then I look down, is if your graph is like perfect. So that would be 20 hamburgers. But again, if your graph is not perfect, because some of you don't make your dots as well and your line as well as you should, is you can go back to your equation and chili fries. Remember, the y refers to the chili fries. So I'm going to write 1.50x plus 2y, but y is really 30 this time, equals 90. So I really have 1.50x plus 60 equals 90. Subtract 60. So we got 1.5x is equal to 30. Divide both sides by 1.5, kind of like we did at the beginning of this problem. And if you do it correctly, x would come out to 20. So how many hamburgers? 20 hamburgers. Explain what the x and y intercept mean in terms of the problem. So let me type this one out and we'll finish the help and then you'll continue to work. All right, x intercept means they bought 60 hamburgers and 0 chili fries. Hopefully they didn't do that, but that's what the x-intercept means. So what does the y-intercept mean? Now the 0 is first, remember, on the y-intercept, so that means they bought 0 hamburgers and 45 chili fries. Now, most likely that's not what they're going to do, but again, that is the scenario. It's probably going to be somewhere in between, but we need to know again what the x-intercept actually means. And on the x-axis, when we plotted the point at 60, 0, that means 60 hamburgers, and it lines up with the 0 on the y-axis, which is 0 chili fries. So if you notice, you're going to do the next part with pizzas and ribs, so very similar. Ooh, maybe you can start on 14 real quick. What do the x and y intercept actually mean? All right, you're going to be awesome and do as best as you can.